but to have my daughter be able to make decisions for herself that she'll be able to make throughout her life instead of me making them for her will be helpful. So I don't have to stand guard by her all the time throughout the rest of her life. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Kind of, but everybody, no matter where we are in rights and awareness and safety and everything, every father turns into that same guy from,
Oh, I'll be watching. I'll be watching like a hawk, but and you do have those worries.
Class it up
but
a little.
I think,
give the boy a watch and say, "Here, let me give you a watch." Can you read 10 o'clock on that? You need to be back here at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, there's a scene in Bad Boys 2 where they get one of the young girl's dates, and they kind of like threaten him and act like they're just out of jail, and they're gonna come after him if he doesn't get back by 10 o'clock. And that's funny, and that happens a lot in the past. But I think one of the most fundamental fatherly things that I've ever seen in public was in the commissary on Camp Pendleton, California. He was probably a 20 or 30-year Marine. His daughter was, I'd say, 17 or 18. And she was talking about a boy that she had met. And the father's response wasn't, he better watch out because, if he hurts you, this is it. It was more of empowering her to know what it means to be taken advantage of, what it means to have somebody treat you well versus somebody treat you well that just wants you for something, and whether that be a relationship or whether that be just in the rest of the life in general, but empowering people to know the difference so we don't get taken advantage of, but also teaching our sons that as well.
Yeah.
So we know the right from wrong. People know right from wrong. But if there's a societal pressure to do certain things, that's the way they're going to lean.
I think one of the things that you had that come up before was mixed in with everything was the changing of the world, and I think that part of what I take away from that is that we have so much that's better now and so much that's easier in some ways, but one of the things that we can't fix and we can't repair and gets glossed over all the time is there is an innocence loss. Like every generation has that. And I just think that there's been like this hemorrhaging of innocence. And it's not coming back like it used to in the past. It used to come back, you'd lose 80% and get back 60%. And it's just kind of gone now. You can't, you've got to worry about on the internet, walking down the street, or like you said, in the classroom, if they're shooting. There's just so many things that, when I was growing up, there were concerns, but they were reasonable concerns that if you put yourself in a dangerous situation, something bad could happen. It wasn't that you would be the innocent victim of something. You didn't have that strong probability. So you're more comfortable, to stay out a little late or something like that. Or, I was right on the brink. I was on the end of the generation that ran down the street behind a DDT truck, and I'm not saying that we should do that. But we could do dangerous things and run around without batting helmets on because we didn't have all these other predators on us to even things out. And it's just, there's so much, my godson was born on 9/11, and I remember thinking that that the world, there's a whole world he'll never know, before the tragedy happened, and the world's just changed, and there's a certain amount of innocence going, and you have to have these talks with your children that you didn't have to have before as much,
But I think a point you brought up earlier, I'm not sure if it was in the after show or before, that things may not have changed as much, but we see it more now. So I don't think things have become more prevalent, but they have become safer because we know about them, more aware of things. I don't think there were fewer predators before, heard about it less. People weren't empowered to speak up as much about things that have happened in their past. And then you also look at just safety of vehicles where, on bicycles, even though you're wearing helmets now and folks may not have been as safe before, there are fewer injuries, there are fewer child deaths, there are fewer deaths in car accidents. So there's a merit to the increase in safety. Some people, you may think go too far, but generally I think we've moved in the right direction, but we see things more often now. With the news stations 20 or 30 years ago, we'd have 2 half-hour news programs and you'd see 5 or 6, 7 stories. Now you can go on Facebook and ABC News will post 15 stories an hour. And a lot of times those are negative stories. So you see things more often, whether they're happening more often or not.
And they're pressured to compete with each other,
right.
Fill every moment for our, and it's really not just their fault because, until we stop eating the chum they're throwing us, they're not going to raise the grade of the food. They're going to keep throwing it out there because we keep eating it to some degree. It's a double-edged sword. Cars are so much safer. But then I remember at the beginning of airbags, you had more people that were surviving with leg injuries and were crippled that would have perished before the airbags, but now they're surviving, but now they have leg injuries and they may be suing somebody differently than they would have because it wouldn't have been thought about. And it's all these, every time we change something, there's always another change that happens because of it that we don't see for 5 or 10 years that comes out of it,
Right.
We're about to have, God help us, autonomous cars. And I don't care who you are, that makes you feel like grumpy old man because it's like, it's like maybe I will be seduced by it but I just can't see my hands off the wheel playing canastas or something while the car's driving down the turnpike.
Right. I'm
just not comfortable with that. Yeah. And I see, you see these videos of people going by in driverless cars to sleep and everything. I don't know that I want to be out there on the road with that because it just seems like that we're putting too much technology in and and it's like we seem to lose skills. Like I don't think many people know how to change tires on a car. I saw somebody your age call AAA and had his car towed to change a tire. He didn't know how to do it. The AAA guy didn't know how to do it. And
yes, with increases in technology and things like that, we have to adapt to these things quicker, and we seem to be losing some of those fundamental, just
right.
basic, aspects of daily living. So there are some steps back with every step forward.
And like with your daughter, with children, it's like one of the things I think the parents need to do. My goddaughter did it. It's like, okay, today we're going to change a tire, So at least the core of it,
right?
If you have to do it, so you can pull from something. We're not gonna go for pit cruise speed or anything. We're just going to change a tire so you're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And and some basic stuff because I just feel that those are fundamental skills that people need to know to be out there in the world just for their own safety. Is there anything you want to say about life, politics, or anything that say to your daughter to listen to in 20 years?
Not particularly. Nothing that comes to my mind.
You can give her a preemptive apology for.
Yeah.
Sorry about being so grumpy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, hopefully by the time your daughter's becoming an adult, the world levels out, gets over itself, stops the nonsense, and I do see a trend. And I like it. I do see a trend where people are going back to old school things, as it were. I see people picking up books again. I see people reading newspapers. I see people getting tired of getting saturated with stuff, and I do like that. It makes. I don't know if it might fall into your age range, but it makes me happy to see records back in the store, full-size records, or those, what most of the people are thinking are those huge CDs.
Yeah.
They used to be records because when records went away, I like CDs and I like MP3s because I like that you don't lose your music. But you just lost the whole craft of album art and liner notes just went away as they shrunk it,
Yeah.
But
we'll see what the future holds. But in the phone that I'm holding, 2,000 songs. That with records would take up this entire wall. So you'll probably never see me with vinyl. But I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll return to maybe a slow down bit and focus on other things that But that's really up to individuals, and self responsibility in teaching our kids to be able to change a tire and things like that. The nothing stops individual parents from doing those things. And
they should be encouraged to do it. And I get what you're saying about you not having the vinyl, but there's something about, and I like having the stuff on phone. I like having my books on Kindle, but I like having a regular copy of the book. And usually what Kindle has done is I'll get the Kindle version first, and then I'll buy the regular copy when it's on sale.
Yeah.
To have a tactile copy of it. Because I feel like that with the way they're doing this stuff electronically and it's shared between the devices, I feel like we don't quite own anything anymore. That we're always just renting it and it could go away on us. So your 2,000 songs could go away, server crash or whatever.
At least it's not owned.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's where I like to have some ownership of it. So, and not, like you said, 2,000 records are great until you have to move. And they're heavy. But I get what you're saying, but it's just, it seems like that society's gearing towards us not owning things. I even see it. We were talking about expensive houses, but I see more and more people are renting now, and I see more older people that have been renting for a while that decide they wanted to buy a home because they're sick of renting. And it's kind of just this switch where, like, younger people, there's this new trend where they don't want a yard. They don't want anything to maintain. I see houses being built that have no yard whatsoever, and they want to walk the minimal distance from the car to the house,
Yeah.
It used to be okay to just park out front, but now they need to drive in the house and up the steps, to the living room or whatever almost. But they want to be, but they don't want a yard. And I am, to a degree, I am with them because I've got all that I could get out of lawn care. No offense for your profession, but lawn care is a lot like laundry. I've gotten everything I can out of it. There's nothing more. If it were something I could outsource right away, I would do it. But I think that I hope that we hit some age of enlightenment, and maintain our nostalgia at the same time, and embrace the future but cherish the past.
Right.
And we have some kind of euphoric middle ground, and the world becomes the better place that it should be. And people just stop acting like fools and overreacting to everything. I hope that for your daughter and everyone. And thank you for your service in all aspects and your work to making it go in that direction.
My pleasure. And thank you very much for having me.
Sure. And I guess hit the button, Russell.